I think we can just quickly start welcoming everyone. Thank you for being here, and thank you so much for joining this workshop on legal frameworks, which is part of the Protect Baltic project and today's stakeholder conference. Hi, Juliette. If you feel comfortable, I see we're 8 people looking at the workshop, but I only see 6 faces. So if you please feel comfortable with it, turn on your cameras, make sure the audio is working, and we want to encourage everyone to interact with each other during this workshop. So please keep yourself engaged. There's a lot of distractions when it's an online session, so we have only a short time available. So please keep yourself out of distractions. And we also want to create a safe environment for everyone. So any comments or any questions that you want to bring up are welcome. And everyone can contribute to this. So there's no right or wrong answers. We're just here to share information, to share knowledge and experiences. And if we can't take one question today due to the length or the process of the project, we can also come back to you later on after the conference. Some housekeeping rules for the session. Please keep your microphone off if you're not speaking during the session, and please raise your hand. I think that is available. If not, well, just make sure that we interact respectfully with each other. And you can also write in the chat, and we can either take the questions in the chat or respond them or bring them to the session with everyone. And well, I should probably introduce myself. And here, if you saw some of the votations and the participants, here is your Mexican and Peruvian people. So I come originally from Mexico, but I probably was cheating a bit on the response because I've been living in Sweden for almost 6 years. So I work as a biodiversity officer at the environmental NGO Coalition Clean Baltic, which is a partner of the Protect Baltic project. And well, I will be today supporting our moderator, Estefania Cortes, which is a key person for our project in CCP. So please, Estefania, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Andrea. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Like Andrea mentioned, I am originally from Peru, but I've been living in Sweden for almost 3 years now. I came here to study and immediately fell in love with the culture and the landscapes, and I decided I wanted to work to protect this region. So I'm now working closely within the Protect Baltic project. I am the legal expert and project manager of our workshop, which I'm going to explain a bit further. But I am very delighted to be part of this conference. And it's really, really good to have people not only from the Baltic region, but also from other regions worldwide, me included. So, like Andrea said, this is your workshop. We're aiming to hear thoughts from you, ideas, concerns, trying to make perhaps the legal topics not so legal. So just really feel comfortable with any thoughts or comments that you may have. And I will now share my screen so I can talk a bit about the agenda. Let's see. Okay, can everybody see my slides? Great. So CCB, as Andrea mentioned, is one of the partners from this really ambitious and huge project called Protect Baltic. As some of you may know, it's a very interdisciplinary and holistic approach that we're aiming to push forward within these 5 years. So this is our first event, and the interest and main goal today is to get to know you, get to know what are your expectations, your thoughts, how comfortable are you with legal concepts as well, and share as well basic information for you to take with you and hopefully stay engaged with us during this project. So just to quickly run through the agenda, we will have right now some introductions. We want to get to know you as well. Then we have 10 minutes for a quick presentation regarding the work package and why is this topic important and also very legal in many ways. Then we will have 3 discussions. Each of them, we're going to be going into breakout groups. The first discussion is aimed to focus on the opportunities that you see for these legal issues. The second discussion will focus on the challenges and obstacles that I'm sure many of you have encountered in your works. And the third discussion is more of a brainstorming to try to take a look at possible solutions. So that last discussion is possibly the creative part of this workshop, and we will wrap up with some conclusions and next steps. I would love to offer some breakouts in these 2 hours, but I think we're going to be very busy. So we're going to just try to do this workshop as light and informal as possible. As I was saying, breakout groups in an online session is mostly a go-to. So we're going to work within groups. Andrea is going to share with you the PowerPoint so each group can write their answers. And you're going to also pick a group representative to come back to us for the mini plenaries after each discussion. We will also going to work with Miro to talk about some reflections after the knowledge transfer and also where we will work with our solutions. And finally, we will also use Slido just to get the baseline of your background and how comfortable you are with the legal topics. So without further ado, I will just go quickly into the connection of this specific work package, which is work package 7, regarding the legal landscape in the Protect Baltic. As you heard from Janika just moments ago, there is a need to observe, analyze, identify the legislative frameworks within the Baltic and globally to achieve what this project wants, which is enabling sufficient spatial protection measures for the marine environment. One of them, which is the marine protected areas, which is the star and key tool that the Protect Baltic project wants to use in order to promote conservation. So our workshop and our work package, it's focused on the understanding of barriers, basically legal challenges, and then so to propose solutions to address a more coherent and efficient network of marine protected areas. We will have, through these 5 years of work, 3 main deliverables. The first one consists in a report of all the existent legal frameworks. So we will basically aim to publish this report next year and it's going to be basically a result of the identification and analysis of the international and EU legal frameworks. So we will have these two cornerstones with the EU biodiversity strategy and the HELCOM BASAB as well. And we aim to include sector-based regulations. This is very important because we don't want to just treat conservation or protection legislation isolated. As you might have also seen in the presentation before, the Baltic is filled with different human activities in the same region. So it is important to also identify and take into consideration different sector-based regulations and their legal frameworks. Our next deliverable is focus on more of a country profiling, any of the countries of the Baltic, to identify best practices and mechanisms related to marine protected areas. And this is probably where we will need your input more than ever, since this is basically a showcasing of the best practices that you can find in your own country. We're very aware that each country is different, has different priorities and necessities, but we also know that most of these practices can be connected or implemented in a specific way in other countries. So it's not about harmonizing all of them, but sort of taking lessons into different inputs for other countries. So that deliverable is also going to be very important for our member states. And finally, we aim to share a report of guidance and these best practices through a roadmap and recommendations. And this is going to be our last deliverable in the project, and it will condense both the challenges that we saw, the opportunities, and the best practices in order to secure that we're not only reaching the 30% goal, but we're reaching a strategic and collaborative 30% goal of protection in the Baltic. So, only to refresh the last image shown by Janika, the legal landscape workshop, it's embedded in all of the other work packages. We're working closely together. But as I was saying, this workshop has definitely the aim to talk to you, to share some of the opportunities, obstacles, and possible solutions so we can truly incorporate them in our deliverables and show pathways that are truly concrete and possible to reach. As we all know, this goal is not easy to do just nationally. So this project also really leans into collaboration between stakeholders. I don't know if so far anyone has any questions. I know sometimes I can talk a bit faster, but if you do, feel free to just ask them on the chat or raise your hand. I want to sort of start with this knowledge transfer section as just a brief share of information. But before that, I think, Andrea, we can continue now with the introductions from our participants.
Yes.
So I'll leave the floor to you.
Thank you. So we want to know as well about you, where you come from, how are you comfortable with these topics, etc. So we have a small Slido. I think we already got used to it in the main plenary. So here I will share the questions, so you can go to the Slido just in the chat. And I will launch the questions so we can start. I can also share my screen so we can see the answers. Just let me see quickly here. Okay, so the first question is, I hope you can see it in the chat. It's, why did you choose to participate in this workshop? I see one person is typing already. Just let us know if you have some technical issues. Eva, you have a question?
I am seeing, the chat of the plenary session, not the workshop. Is it okay?
You can, there's like 3 buttons. One says event, one says my agenda, and one says workshop. So you have to go to the workshop one.
Perfect, thank you.
Yes, no worries. Okay, Juliet, to learn about the current legal frameworks in the Baltic and how it could evolve. Yes, I think we will talk a bit more about that in the knowledge transfer section and try to reach some ideas together on how to find out why some things haven't worked and what could be more possible to apply maybe in practice to gain new knowledge, find out what's happening in other countries. May I ask which countries you are from, or where are you coming from? Annegret, I hope I'm pronouncing well your name.
Yeah, that's right. I'm coming from Germany, from Kiel University.
Nice.
And I'm doing, my research is focusing on issues of stakeholder participation in international organizations. So for comparing, for example, HELCOM, but also with other international institutions where stakeholder participation plays an increasing role, the Arctic Council, for example, or the CBD, and then reflecting on what does this stakeholder, what different forms of stakeholder participation are there, and in how far influence they the stakeholder participation, the outcome, the political outcome, and also issues of acceptance and non-acceptance of rules. And yes, I typed in, and at the moment I'm especially interested in the influence of the new EU nature restoration law on accepting protection formats also in the Baltic Sea, because this will be coming soon and will actually have a relevant influence and how we think of environmental legislation in the future.
Thank you so much and welcome, Annegret. Okay, I will have to go to the next question, which is also related to, Eva, no best practices of other countries, how to overcome barriers, how HELCOM Protect the Baltic can promote best practices. Okay, next question. How comfortable are you? Okay, I think I will launch this one instead. Which organization are you affiliated with? And what do you consider your sector? So this is for everyone to also write about where you're coming from so we can get to know each other better. My Slido is a bit slow today. See, Geomar, Center for Ocean Research, Kiel, Germany, Kiel University. So you, Eva and Noah, know each other? Okay, that's nice. Juliet from academia, CCMAR in Portugal. Okay, CRNS in France. Nice that we also have some people from outside the Baltic to bring new perspectives. Okay, Jenny. Hi, Jenny. I don't see you still on camera, but from Azkabans. Welcome as well. Okay, I'll go to the next question, which I think is this one. Let's see. Okay, how comfortable are you with the legal topics regarding marine protected areas? Okay. So most of the people have some knowledge of the legal frameworks and concepts applicable. Who is very comfortable with the legal, if I may ask? Okay, Annegret, nice. I think 6 people voted. We are 9. Okay, well, I can go further. How important are legal constraints in developing MPAs? 1 being the lowest in importance and 5 being the highest.
This question is perhaps one of the key, more important ones for us.
Okay, 50-50, 3-4. Okay, maybe we can reflect on that later. I can go further. Okay, we're missing one because I think we were 6 before. 40, 60. No more. Well, I go further then. How familiar are you with the legal obstacles related to MPAs in your country? The same, 1 the lowest, 5 the highest. Three votes. Okay, so we have a good variation. I think that's great. And if I'm not wrong, those were all the questions. Thank you so much for interacting. I think it was quite easy in the platform to do it. So maybe I can stop sharing my screen and you can continue.
Okay, I will share then again my screen. Let's see. Thank you, Andrea. Let's see. So, thank you for responding to our questions. I want to maybe refresh some of the key concepts when we're discussing legal frameworks in the marine protection. So I'm gonna just go through 3 concrete slides. So I am really happy that you have an interest for the legal frameworks. I'm sure most of these images are very familiar to you. I heard some, well, Annegret, you mentioned the nature restoration law. That's a very recent and very happy news this week. But perhaps most of you are familiar for one way and another with the Birds Directive and the Habitats Directive, which are cornerstones of the EU legal framework, which all of the European countries must transpose into national legislation and follow through. After these two really key directives, we have also the international goal reflected in the Convention of Biological Diversity. And here is where the 30 by 30 target stems from the recent COP15 of the CBD, the Kunming-Montreal framework. So as you can see, it's all very connected, and we already have a lot of frameworks in place. The Convention of Wetlands, the Sustainable Development Goals, the Water Framework Directive, the Marine Strategy Framework. All of these legal frameworks are not meant to confuse us, but it is important to know that all of these frameworks stemmed or were created because of a specific necessity at a specific point in time. And this is where it gets a bit complicated or tricky to read them and interpret them in order for them to fulfill the really concrete purpose that they're made from, which is looking for a holistic ecosystem approach and protection of our biodiversity. So when we talked about marine protection, we have to bear these frameworks in mind, but we also have to really make sure that while interpreting this, we also know that there are other regulations and other laws coming from other sectors that may be a contradiction, or that may be a complement in the best case scenario, or that need further development. So when we talk about legal frameworks, we talk about very much a live process of interpretation of rules, of definition of cases. So all these frameworks are currently in place and are currently valid and legitimate, but they will need to come alive in a way when we discuss specific examples or when we make specific decisions for our ecosystem and for our society. So we talked about the key goal of the CBD, which is the target of 30 by 30. So we have a lot to do before 2030 in order to secure a 30% of marine spaces under protection, under conservation. And like Jannica mentioned at the main stage, it's not only about looking for numbers here, but it's looking for areas that have a good quality and resources that need to be preserved. And it's strategic not only for the country that holds it within its territory, within its jurisdiction, but we aim for this project to work together, for every country to work together, mainly because it's not about which country has more MPAs than the others. It's about really defining what areas are better for the whole region. So just coming back to the definition also by the CBD, the MPAs, the marine protected areas, it's an area of the sea or coast, especially dedicated to the protection and maintenance of biological diversity and of natural and associated cultural resources that is managed through legal or other effective means. Here, the key is to look at this purpose through a long-term lens. We do not aim to establish and designate marine protected areas with just a short amount of time in sight. There is a reason why some ecosystems and some biodiversity resources need to be protected in order for them to not lead to need to be restored at certain point in time. So these areas are very, very special, and they need to be embedded in the country's policies, priorities, and decision making when deciding what other activities can also be executed at the same area. And this is where two of the key actors come along. One of them is the EU, and the other one is HELCOM. So the EU has promoted from a long time ago different different types of strategies and pathways to achieve better and more consistent promotion of this conservation of ecosystems. But it has also promoted from the biodiversity strategy what we called, and what many of you might have heard, which is the European Green Deal. That European Green Deal, it's an umbrella of different also priorities and interests that do not only focus on conservation, but also focuses on green transition and clean energy. So many of the issues that we can see and analyze when we analyze legal frameworks come from the different interests that other regulatory frameworks have already established. And in the case of HELCOM, as stemming from the convention that has all our member countries legally binding, it aims to help to contribute effectively with these areas of conservation. So both of them can be a really good key for all the countries, so they can achieve these global targets, especially the 30 by 30 target. So here we come to why is your presence here relevant? What are the stakeholders important in this MPA journey? And it's basically because when we discuss about this legal tool that is marine protection, we discuss it in different phases. We have the designation of the MPAs. We then need to worry about how we implement them, and further on, how we monitor them, how we manage it in time. So this is why we and all of you are present in this workshop. Finally, I do want to just refresh us into the most common legal obstacles. I mean, when we think about legal frameworks, some of them are already very common, not only for marine protection, but for other types of conflict in our society. So in the case of the conservation of the ecosystems, we have 4 at least types of legal obstacles. Fragmented marine management, which it's sort of the different human uses that are regulated in isolation, and they're not regulated holistically, as well as different conditions for imposing area-based measures. Sometimes it's not about the ecosystem, sometimes it's about something else, another activity, but that has indirect benefits to conservation. Then we have conflicting policy objectives. So this target of 30% can be competing with other interests, as well as the marine strategy planning framework that is not legally binding and is not necessary or indeed transposed by all the countries in the same level or direction. Then we have the lack of terminology harmonization. And here, I mean, we have Jugas, and sometimes he will correct me, but sometimes we do have different concepts of the types of designations. And I think it was very interesting working with you, Jugas, because those types of designations that you were mentioning in the case of your country were not the same for other Baltic countries. So are those just different ways to call the same thing, or does it mean the content is also different? And finally, we have also some jurisdictional challenges, which are the limited jurisdiction with respect of certain activities. It could be fisheries, it could be transport, that we need to be also included in order to make a decision about protection. And also the risk of free riders, which are basically other activities that latch on to policies that are not made for them, but can get access to their benefits as well. And this includes the protection measures. So what we're aiming to do in this workshop is try to think about what is the role, or what do we want to be the role of marine protected areas from here on out? What is the best for long-term protection? If we do believe that is needed or not any additional frameworks than the ones that we already have outside and currently available, or if maybe the solutions are more into the path of transboundary cooperation. So all of these questions are gonna, we hope, are gonna be solved or try to solve with your help in our breakout groups. So this is the knowledge that I wanted to share with you. And now I will leave the floor to Andrea to share in the chat, or Myro. We want to know a couple of questions regarding what do you think about the term of marine protected areas? What does it mean to you? It doesn't need to be a legal term. And then also some questions about how this discussion in our workshop can contribute to your work field and to this project.
Okay, thank you, Stefania. And I will share my screen also for everyone to see the board. Now I turned off my camera instead. Just wait a second. I hope you all can have access to the Miro board, Myra board. And so we will, as Stefania said, respond these 4 questions or 3 questions. We will have them in the board, and the last question we can just bring it to the session. So the first question, are you all in? Does it work for you?
Can you tell us how we can access Myra board?
I put the link on the chat, so you can just click the link and it should be able to redirect you, and hopefully you can edit it as well.
I can't find the link. Is it workshop and then chat?
Workshop and chat, exactly.
Okay.
I cannot see the link either.
In the right column of the page of the event. So you have the event May Agenda workshop, and then you have the option for the chat.
It's not there.
Okay, I can write it again. Here.
Okay, yes, now it's there.
Good, thank you. Let's see. So we have now 6 people connected. We lost one, okay. Okay, so the first question is more general. What do you think about the term of MPAs or the MPA term? What does this mean to you? It can, of course, come from your background, from your knowledge. So we want the actual reflection of what do you think when you think about MPAs. You can use these stickers, so you can double click and write on them. Okay, so we have, it's clear no activities in MPAs that are harmful for the area or the species that inhabit occur in them. We also have spaces of negotiation and collaboration. So this is a bit different from the last one. Area which is free from human uses with very little human impact, where nature can exist undisturbed. So this is a bit more on the side that no activities should be allowed. So far business as usual, but high effort in education. Good management and outcomes, different levels of protection from OECMs to strictly protected. Okay, that's very interesting views. I think we have all the answers. We have 8 participants with Estefania and I, so I think we can move on to the second question, which is how can the discussions in this workshop contribute to the work package 7, the legal work package goals? So how do you think, just from what we've seen, from what is expected from our package, the activities that Estefania mentioned, what do you think we can bring today to the session that could contribute to the project? Clear aims and objectives for the management of MPAs. Clear division of tasks among stakeholders. Who wrote that clear division of tasks? May I ask? No one? Okay. Identify essential stakeholders. Good MPAs management examples. Okay, we can see how this can be linked to the legal topic. Hi, Kate.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear
you. I couldn't attach myself to the second workshops for some reason, so I will join you if that's fine.
That's great, thank you and welcome. We are just now doing a mirror exercise, so there's a link on the chat in the workshop section. You can join if you want to participate in the activity. Okay, compare experiences from different countries, barriers to setting up MPAs. Okay, then we can go to the last question, which is how can the discussions in this workshop contribute to your work field? So what do you expect to get from this workshop? And maybe if there's some things, not only from the workshop, but maybe from the project, what do you expect to get from Protect Baltic and from this session?
Do you want to pisać? Grab a sticky note.
You can just click on it, move it, and then you double click if you want to write.
Yeah, but I can't. No.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe. No. Oh, no. Maybe no?
I don't see your name, but...
Yeah.
Okay, understand how MPAs and conservation remedial measures of the CFP can be complementary or synergetic. So this is related to fisheries. Hope to get clear recommendations to further help conserve the harbor porpoise, which is very important topic. How can best practices applied in a national local context? What to avoid, adopt, or consider when developing management measures. So this is something that, as we mentioned, we will look further during the project. So this can also be followed up during this year's potential collaboration knowledge about the legal frames in the Baltic countries. Okay. Information about how stakeholder integration works in HELCOM contexts. This discussion on influence of nature restoration law, I think that's a really relevant point now to see how we can link restoration to marine protection, how MPAs can serve for mainly passive restoration, but also maybe how we can implement other active restoration measures. So that's really interesting. And thank you so much for your input. We want to bring this last question more open. So you don't need to write here, but you can just share with the session. Do you want to add anything to our shared knowledge transfer? Do you have questions, or do you want to complement what was said regarding legal frameworks for MPAs? And I can perhaps stop sharing my screen so we can see each other. So if you want to add anything, this is a good moment. We can't hear you, Kate. I think I don't know if you're trying to.
No.
Okay, sorry.
Not yet, but
sorry for putting you in the spot.
Yes, for some reason I managed to work with Miro when I was not registered officially without cameras, but right now I cannot. So sorry for that.
Okay, but maybe you want to reflect a bit on some of these questions. How could this workshop contribute to your work, or how do you think it's useful for this session, useful for the project?
Yes, because I work for the fisheries, as you may know, so it's quite important for me how we can somehow introduce fisheries management in MPAs and how we can agree on certain protection measures and also be able to continue fisheries in some way So yes, definitely, it's very interesting for me to see how we can cooperate and make an agreement among different users, and also how we can, even though we have fisheries, maintain good biodiversity and MPAs and protection of them. So it's very important for me to learn how we can somehow achieve our goals both.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yes, I think it's quite important, as we mentioned before, like how to link these frameworks, for example, the common fisheries policy, how
Exactly.
it can help for other legal frameworks or other instrument that we have for marine protection. So that's very relevant. Jenny?
Thanks. Yeah, just to add to shared knowledge transfer, like in the mirror of the question. So Askopans is currently working on a toolkit on management of MPAs for small cetaceans. So we hope to be able to share that sometime this year on our website, and maybe that can contribute to this process. And also for the next Askopans meeting of the parties, which is in September, we are submitting a guidelines for cetacean sensitive maritime spatial planning, which might also contribute to this project.
Thank you, Jenny. And yes, I think part of the aim of this workshop is to kind of hold that contact with you all. If you want to bring some information as well, or you want us to provide as well some of the things that we're doing in the project, I think that interaction is very important for us to keep. So we definitely want to keep you engaged during the whole process of the project and our work package. So that's very welcome. Thank you, Jenny. Okay, then I think we can continue. I will give the floor to Stefania back. Oops. We can't hear you. I think you're muted. Let me see. You need to unmute yourself from in the platform. No. Okay. I can try to continue.
Meanwhile, what about now?
Okay, now.
Efficiency, like we're looking in this project. Okay, so thank you very much for all your input. I am very happy that we have different, or at least one sector here represented, fisheries. Thank you, Kate, for joining this workshop. So what we want to do now is dream a bit. I want you to try to forget that we have all of these rules that need to happen in a certain way. We want to start with sort of ideas. It could be crazy ideas about how to reach this 30% goal by answering 3 questions. I don't know, Andrea, if you can share also the PowerPoint in the chat. But basically what we want is for you to think creatively about how would be the basis of establishing MPAs. What would you look for? Who would you contact? What forum should be adequate to collaborate? I know that right now we are at the Halcom platform under this project. But as you did see in Janika's presentations, there are a lot of seaborne projects trying to tackle this goal and challenges at the same time. So that's also our second question. And the third question focuses more on what would your main protective measures be. And here it's very important that you bear in mind that some of the sector-based or other activities that are not under the protection or conservation topic need to be highlighted. So take into consideration how it would affect to other economic activities in your answer. So I don't know if you have any questions or comments on this specific discussion, but if not, we can send you to your breakout groups. We have 11 people, so I think we can.
Yes, I think we can make 2 groups.
Yeah.
The idea, if I can explain a bit, is you in your group you will appoint a person who will take notes on these questions. That's why we share the link, so you can see the questions, and the person appointed in your group will try to write the answers here and report back to this session once we are done with the discussion. So that's the main aim, and we can send you now.
I will send you to the breakout rooms. You will only be needing the 2 first slides, since we're going to be just 2 groups.
So I can remove these ones to avoid confusion.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, Andrea. Okay, so breakout by rooms, 2 rooms. And we will see you back in 20 minutes.
Okay.
I know that you are still working on the last question. I mean, we can keep the PowerPoint open, but regarding the last question, because I can't see I don't know if the other group came back. What, if anyone would like to tell me, what is your opinion of strict protection? I know fisheries, it's right now our sector-based star in the workshop, but when we talk about strict protection, maybe there are different opinions that are related to the last question. I don't know if anyone wants to talk about it really quick.
Sorry, I just we're waiting for the other people. I had a bit of problems coming back, as I had to.
I think they're sharing their audio and video.
Okay. I see now.
I
was a bit worried. Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. I don't know, Andrea, if the other group reached the question 3.
I think we were stuck in the 3rd one. Yes. I don't think we finished it, but
because what I'm thinking is we can keep the PowerPoint open, but maybe what it would be nice right now, just to not review your answers, because I mean we can discuss them later. Regarding the 3rd question, I know it's a very ambitious one. What protective measures should we push or promote? I was asking what their opinion on strict protection was, because some of these protective measures can be maybe more flexible or maybe more adaptable to other sector-based activities. So if anyone would like to give us their take on strict protection, that would also be very relevant for this discussion.
If I may?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, I think strict protection is needed. I mean, of course, as a fisheries person, I shouldn't say that, but in case of the most valuable areas, we should keep strict protection, really enclose it for activities, human activities, just to ensure that we have undisturbed nature, which can, function undisturbedly. So that, of course, will be beneficial also for other areas where we cannot really implement any strict protection measures. So I think we need areas with strict protection, but of course, there is a possibility to have areas without strict protection, which are less valuable, but I think we really have to have this ambition to aim at this. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kate. Yes, Annegret.
Yes, I on the one hand, I do agree, but for example, in the case of eutrophication, strict protection might also be a problem because actually we also might need restoration there because it's such a bad state, and the problem of eutrophication will actually increase in the future due to the temperature rise. And so perhaps in this case, strict. Yeah, we need restoration, but not strict protection then.
Very valid comment, Annegret. Thank you so much. Okay, Juliet and then Eva, before we go to the next discussion, which I think is going to be the most important one regarding the obstacles. So, Juliet.
Yeah, I'm working on how it will be implemented by some of the member states, the 10% target of the biodiversity strategy. And actually, restoration it doesn't seem like it's going to be excluded for most. So that wouldn't be an issue. But it's a really good point that you made. And I actually I don't want to share whether I think it's needed or not. It's probably needed. It is needed. But I think the connection with the land-based activities is completely inexistent now. And it's a very important topic in MPAs, especially because in Europe, in terms of numbers, most of the MPAs are in nearshore and territorial waters. So it's super important. Yes. And also talking about jurisdiction, I think there should be much more on where we're going to and how we're going to make strict protection in offshore areas, because of the shared competency of the fisheries, etc. And also because there are super important ecosystems there that are less known by research and by people in general. So I think these are two things that I really think are important for strict protection.
Indeed. Thank you, Juliet. Eva.
No, I agree with the comment of Kate that it is really important to talk about no extractive activities, no extractive uses, and no use for areas of strict protection. It is very important. And especially for the Baltic, it is also important to address, the topic of eutrophication and the reason, let's say, I do agree, but to that end, I actually see the need for more marine protected areas to that end, that we actually have climate refuges, that areas like exactly because it will make the problem of eutrophication and anoxic and hypoxic conditions even more strong in the future. It is important to also consider, the role of climate refuges and deeper waters, let's say, as like areas that the fish species, for instance, or other species can go and protect themselves from extreme temperature conditions. Yes, just a thought.
No, great comments, Eva, and everyone. Thank you so much. I'm gonna have to run a bit. We're gonna have to run a bit with time. Andrea is gonna share the next discussion, which is also gonna take 20 minutes. And we're talking about the challenges. So this is where all your concerns and all the possibilities that you already faced within your field should be poured here. So following the previous discussion, please answer to these 3 questions. I'm gonna again send you to breakout groups. And if you have any comment or question regarding what do we mean with some of them, just let us know in the chat. We'll be checking them. And now, Andrea, did you also share the...
Yes, I will share it now.
Great.
So just one second.
Everyone else into their workshops.
So here it is.
And you should be in the same group, I'm assuming. So just let me know.
And it's the same process with one person reporting, writing the information in the slides.
Yes. So 2 rooms for 20 minutes. Thank you so much and have fun. So we're reaching the end of this workshop, as unbelievable as that is. Andrea is going to share with you the Miro again, and we're going to pour all our ideas and comments, balancing the first and the second discussion into our solutions. And here, like, there's no limit. I've been hearing a bit in the breakout groups some very nice ideas when it comes to measures and how to approach maybe other stakeholders. So you will find in the Miro 3 different boxes. One mentions planning, management, and designation of MPAs. And then you have a blue box that it's mainly related to perhaps if you want to share any successful story case of an MPA that could be relevant for our solutions. So this last bit of our workshop is about trying to be as creative as possible within the context of our legal frameworks, and perhaps looking into other tools that are not traditionally part of the environmental frameworks, but they have a dynamic and a connection with it. So I don't know if, Andrea, are you sharing the Miro?
I'm trying to share, but it doesn't
great.
appear.
I think we can see it.
Okay. Great. So, Kate, if you can't write on the Miro, please write on the chat if you can.
Okay.
If you want to respond something.
I can't write for some reason. I was able to write when I was not involved directly in your meeting, but then right now I cannot for some reason.
Okay.
I don't know.
No worries. So first question. Well, yeah, so it's the question of what would you suggest to overcome, resolve, minimize the legal obstacles identified in our second discussion. So this is more like solutions based, and we have divided into planning, management, and designation. So you can write whatever you think or you have discussed, mostly some ideas. If you also have some case that you consider important, you can just quickly mention it, and we maybe contact you later on so we can get to know more about it.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, Jenny. Okay. Yes. So maybe think about some of the sector-based different interests of protection. How would we be able to align them, or at least find common ground between those two? If you have any ideas related to compensation measures, maybe we haven't discussed about that, but when it's when we discuss about also strict protection areas, that is also a part of cost benefit analysis. So yeah, feel free to ask any questions or write in the chat. And while you do that, I can review the other slides.
Oh, I think you could not edit it now. Can you edit it? Is it possible?
Yeah, I can now.
Okay, great. Sorry for that. So here we have planning, decide on priorities and think about compensations for activities of lower importance that might be affected by the planning or like the potential designation of the area, include military sector in the agenda, setting dialogue for a civilization, at least on the long run. Yes, this is a very important one. Also giving military concerns. Currently, for the designation, we have needs approval of both environmental and agriculture ministries in some areas, which can present a challenge. So conciliation of interests between ministries in one country even.
I know that some of you were thinking about how different some of the legal processes in other ministries are. Perhaps you could also think about any ideas where those processes can meet at some point when we're discussing marine protected areas in the long term. And just to respond quickly to your question, Juliet, we are aiming to publish a report, but then we will most likely have an engagement sort of audience workshop about it. So just so you're aware, in order to share the results and maybe have some feedback as well.
Okay, some comments on management we're missing. Story case, if you know of something, doesn't have to be too elaborate for now.
And what in designation?
Okay, I think I'll give one more minute so we can have a very, probably the shortest wrap up on history, but we will aim for that.
Clear rules.
Okay, we have some French examples, very interesting, and also in Portugal. Okay, I still see someone writing. Oops, sorry, I'm not there. Okay. Okay, I think we are done with the Miro board. I see.
We can
anyone else?
keep it open for the rest of the event.
Yeah, I mean, if something comes up, please just add it to the Miro. We'll have it open for today.
Can you stop
yes,
sharing with the
I will
Miro?
stop sharing.
So I will have to wrap up this in 2 minutes. So thank you very much for these 2 hours of work and communication. I would have liked to review some of the opportunities and challenges that were sort of shared. But unfortunately, we're really short in time, so I can just share
I can just I can share the screen if you want, okay. And then I have it here.
Great.
Screen 2.
So, very good ideas regarding opportunities, ecosystem-based management, the consideration of other sector-based activities, and of course, the inclusion of stakeholders looking for connectivity. But perhaps the challenges were a bit more difficult to grasp. There is a lot of different views among countries and a lot of politicization when it comes to certain interests. So mainly the challenges are, I think, regarding what is the connection between all of these sectors and the environmental path and legal framework. So we are missing some enforcement measures, or may I say some enforcement policies to make this happen. Like Andrea was saying in the Miro, we have a lot of solutions from you. Thank you so much for sharing them in the Miro. We will keep that open, so you can just feel free to type in, and we will keep that open during this whole day. And for our next steps, as Andrea mentioned at the beginning, we would love to still get in touch with you throughout this project. I know many of you are working in specific projects and specific perspectives of the same issue. So we would love to get more in touch later. I do have your emails now. I'm sure you received mine a couple of days ago. So let's stay in touch. And thank you very much again for participating. I don't know if everyone is comfortable with taking a photo, perhaps. Andrea, if you can stop sharing, maybe, and we can just have a quick screenshot.
Okay, if someone wants to give thumbs up or something, I will take the screenshot.
Great.
Now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone. And
thank you.
That you keep enjoying the event.
Thank you.
See you soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
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 Thank you. Bye.